Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Swin with two N's and I'm back with yet another video. You guys may be wondering, where have I been? Listen, summer flying, summer flying, summer flying. That's all I'm gonna say. If you know, you know. But just to go ahead and start this video, thank you guys so much for tuning in and still sticking it out with me. To my new subscribers, welcome. Thank you for subscribing. Continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on those post notifications so you can know when I upload. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into this video. So this video is just simply about life on reserve. And if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my phone because I have a list of things that I would like to cover. So let's start with airline versus airline. So some of you may not know, but if you don't know, I meant to say go ahead and go back to some of my previous videos, go watch my training videos and everything. But I was previously with Spirit Airlines. Spirit's reserve was totally different from United's reserve. Spirit reserve, they did reserve blocks. You could do A, B, C, D, E. I think they have 5 blocks. I don't remember, but I believe they have 5 blocks where you do certain times. So the earliest would be like 12 a.m. to 10 a.m. So that'd be your time slot of when you're on reserve. Spirit's reserve, I feel like, was more livable, if that makes sense. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but you were able to at least have the rest of your day if you weren't called during those hours. Now, United's reserve is 24/7. You can still do things that you need to do and get done, but remember that they can call you any time of the day, at least a 3-hour call out before the check-in time. So yeah, that's the difference between the two. That's the major difference, I should say, between the two. Spirit's reserve, it was okay. It was okay, depending on the base that you were at. It was fine. You'll get called if you did a certain time slot more than the other, stuff like that. So you're able to kind of work your schedule in a way. United, on the other hand, you're not able to really work your schedule. You're just on reserve 24/7. So just to get into a little bit more about reserve life, commuting. So a lot of people talk about commuting. I commuted because, yeah, I have yet to be based in my home, which is Florida. Straight out of training, you get the base that you choose, or the base that is available at the time of your seniority. You get the base that they give you, and you have to go to that base. Now, when you get to that base, they do have some things out there called crash pads. Crash pads is just a place of residency, a place to lay your head while you're, away from home, but you have to work pretty much. Some have rules, some don't. Some you can only be there on your days on, and you have to go home. It just depends on what crash pad you choose. Some crash pads can have up to 15 people, some can have just 3 people. It's so many different options out there. Crash pads do range from different prices depending on what base you're at and what state you're in, everything like that. So if you're on the West Coast, you're going to pay a little bit more money compared to the East Coast or Texas or something like that. So keep that in mind. What can I say? Commuting can be a little challenging. Of course, we fly standby, so it can be a little challenging. Some days, all the flights will be packed. So that's the difference that I could tell with Spirit. You had to get there. You had no choice. You had to get to base. But with United, they have a little lenient program called the Oops Clause, where if you can't make it, you just call and let them know that you can't make it. But there are rules in place to that as well. So once you get into it, you'll find out the rules and everything like that, and you can go ahead and use that policy. But yeah, commuting can be very tricky because, yeah, flights can be full and you may not make it at all to base. So just think in advance. I usually always leave my last off day so I can make it back, or I look at the flights like 2 days in advance to see how the loads are looking, and from that I'll go ahead and distinguish between, okay, what day I really need to leave. Packing. When you are a commuter, packing can be hard, so this is where crash pads come into play. When I was on probation, I stayed in a crash pad because I needed everything. Like, I could not chance it in trying to make it back and stuff like that. But crash pads come in handy because you can literally leave everything right there and you don't have to pack and continue to unpack and pack and unpack and pack, sometimes you may miss stuff, you know what I mean? So yes, packing, I usually pack light. I usually bring one outfit, one different pair of shoes. Everything else is just uniforms, underwear, toiletries, stuff like that. But other than that, I try to pack light because reserve days can be up to 6 days, and I don't want to continue to carry so much stuff. Or I can have a 4-day trip and my bags are heavy. And sometimes I get international trips, so I want to buy things, so I always try to pack light. Just my take on reserve. It can be hard, it can be difficult. Like I say, reserve is 24/7 for United, so it's like clockwork. When I get back from a trip, I can already have another trip. I just get my 10 hours, 12 hours of rest, I'm back up at it. So reserve can be very, very, very hard. It can be very tiring. It can be very lonely. You're just on the go 24/7. They can call you anytime. I had a call for a check-in at 1 a.m. one time, and I just did standby earlier that morning. So reserve life can be very, very hard compared to a line holder. Also reserves, it's a little tricky depending on the airline for you to have like a set schedule and know your schedule and kind of work around it. So I can say reserve life makes it really hard with like your work-life balance. But once you learn the system, once you learn how to make it work for you, it's definitely doable. So if you guys have any more questions about reserve life, that is just my take on the 2 airlines that I was with. And that's my take on commuting. I have yet to have the experience to be based at home to know how reserve life is at home, but I'm pretty sure it's 10 times easier being at home than having to pack up a suitcase and actually go to base. So yeah, any more questions with that, I can get someone to come on and tell you guys about how it is for reserve life at home, if that will help anyone. But without further ado, continue to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video.